good week for news, right? So,
Right. Yeah.
and it just shows us that, no matter how bleak things look, no matter how much it seems like the foundations around us are eroding, if you know where to look, you can see God moving all the time.
That's right.
And
That's right. Amen.
it's just exciting when you look at it from that perspective, right? So, everything that I look at, A, goes through a spiritual lens first, but then B, through an economic lens, right? Because it's what I do, right? I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a politician. I'm an economist, right? So but I'm a Christian economist. So those are the lenses that I look through. So, I was thinking this morning, it's like, where are gold and silver going, right? Which, when you think about that more philosophically, you have to think, how did it get to where it's going, and why, right?
Yeah.
And if what caused it to get to where it's going, is that going to continue, right? So I'm just thinking about it, and you look back and you go all the way back to the 90s, or maybe even the 80s, right? So it's like, okay, Reagan came into power in 1980, and the 80s were a really good decade for America, right? So the Berlin Wall came down. Interest rates came from an all-time high after Carter years, when they were 18%, down to low. Taxes were reduced. So Americans' wallets became kind of fat and happy, right? Which has both pros and cons. When you become too fat and happy for too long, you don't really have a lot of reliance on God,
Right.
as a nation.
Yeah.
And so you start to slip away, right? You start to make goofy decisions. It's just when people have reliance on God, they make wiser decisions, right? Even though sometimes it's in the midst of a desert experience, right? But imagine if we could get to the point where you're like at the pinnacle of the mountain and you're still relying on God, then you just keep climbing, right? But anyways, you look at what happened in the 80s, and it was all kind of a function of what happened in 1971 when Nixon closed the gold window, right? He changed money forever, right? So we purely became a fiat-based currency, and then we became an oil-backed currency with the petrodollar. That created a boom and bust cycle that still to this day hasn't ended. But in the 80s, it became a decade of kind of excess. Then that rolled into the 90s, right? So you look at what happened, what changed, right? So during the 90s, central bank holdings of gold went from about 40% of all their holdings down to 10.
Oh, wow.
Like literally 10. Why did it go to 10? Well, because America was fat and happy, right? It's like the dollar was king. The Japan real estate crisis had happened. Japanese economy had imploded. The Berlin Wall came down. The Cold War was over. Globally, money started flowing into America, and central banks took account of that and said, why do we need this stinking gold, right? Let's go from 40% down to 10, and let's have the US dollar be the asset of choice for safe haven investing, right? So that was the 90s. Then you roll into the 2000s, same story. 2008, 2009 happened, game changer again, right? So people realized, oh no, the emperor has no clothes, right? All of this financial miracle that we've seen was kind of built on leveraged debt. People getting money in the subprime lending crisis who never should have gotten money, right? And so the game was exposed, right? And so then what started to happen? Like clockwork, maybe the US dollar isn't as strong as we thought it was. I'm talking about global perception.
Right.
And central banks started allocating into gold again.
Oh, wow.
Gold is what central banks look at in times of crisis. Well, you could look at crisis from many different ways. You could see the geopolitical crisis that we're having now with Russia and Ukraine, or with Iran, or China and Taiwan, or you name it. Or is it a debt spiral crisis, which all of these wars and rumors and wars could go away, and you still have debt up to your eyeballs, right? So under the surface, we are seeing a global crisis. What tells me that we're seeing a global debt crisis? Banks are allocating into gold like it's nobody's business. And they have since 2008.
Oh, wow.
So we're now, back to prior to 1971, prior to the emergence of the Federal Reserve, the dollar was backed by gold. It was the largest reserve behind a currency that there was. Well, now globally, it's done the same thing. Gold is now the number one held reserve asset, surpassing the US dollar in central banks around the world. What does that tell us? It tells us that things might seem to be okay, or you might perceive it's like things are not okay. But when central banks allocate into gold, it tells us that economically things are not okay.
Oh, wow.
And it's at record-setting levels right now, right?
Yeah.
So, what's the moral of that story? Gold is quickly becoming the reserve asset of choice for central banks and for individual investors like us. And it's just, we're entering into a different era.
Yeah, that's right.
Fiat money as we know it is going away, LT.
Yeah. I mean, we've watched some strange things. Did you see where President Trump actually is going to be signing the $100 bill? Do you see how that's going to be playing out?
Yeah, I saw that. And why do presidents put their faces on currency? Because they did something special during the time that they were in power, right? So Trump is doing something special.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the other day, I don't know if you noticed the visit from the supposed king and queen. I play it out like that, but there were a lot of things going on, like the beekeeper stuff, showing President Trump as the beekeeper, which related to a movie. I'm sure you saw all that.
Yep.
And showing how he's taken out these guys who have hurt us for so long. And it just seemed like there was a lot of comms from that showing that President Trump's letting the king know, you guys are done. We've had enough. We didn't have the gold fringe on the flag. I don't know if you noticed that. And some of the information that came from that was pretty amazing. I think a lot of it has to do with the monetary side. We've been getting a lot of information showing that it seemed like they had a lot of control over us for many years, and a lot of folks didn't realize it. And a lot of it, you were kind of talking about COMEX and some of the things playing out with London and more. It just seems like they're starting to lose what seemed to be a lot of power. It's fading away. And President Trump is bringing it all back with his team.
He is. I mean, it's not like overnight.
Right.
London lost its luster. This has been going on for a long time. It's just gone on for so long now that now you're seeing the fruit on the tree. and I think that beekeeper type analogy. I mean, I watched the movie.
Yeah.
So violent, but it was actually a good movie. I mean, it's just violent. Yeah. But yeah, it's a good guy taking out the people that are stealing from people, right? I mean, that was the gist of the movie. Yep. This is what Trump allegorically, or actually not even an allegory, it's like for real. He's taking out the banks systematically, changing the US dollar, changing the currency, bringing more demand to it, because the system as we've known it since the Federal Reserve started has been doing what? Stealing from people.
That's right.
That's what it's been doing. This is what high interest rates, this is what inflation does. This is what printing money like there's no tomorrow without any tangible backing does.
That's right.
That's where it's a really good parallel to the beekeeper story.
Yeah, pretty amazing. They had the picture of McKinley up there to kind of show folks going back to that time frame when America was doing well, and it was just there's just a lot of great things that were playing out for us, and more, especially when it related to money. And so excited about that. Of course, we had the reminder that no tax on tips this year, and some other things helping people out regardless of all that's playing out. and they could take that extra money and actually allocate it into precious metals and help them grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great time to do so, right? It's like we talked maybe a few weeks ago about how all these other economists are saying where they think silver is going to go. And we're talking about gold on this show, but silver is outperforming gold.
Yeah.
I mean, even this week, you look at what it's doing, and there's Jesse Colombo. I love him with the Bubble report, right? He does some really great research. Yeah. So he talked about, had this research article, how gold and silver volatility has plunged. Okay. Mm-hmm. So don't take that as a negative for all of you are saying, oh, gold and silver plunging. No, volatility is plunging, which means what? It's calming down. Mm-hmm. It's not as volatile. And so when there's a lot of uncertainty in any market, you have extreme volatility, and you can see massive up days and massive down days, and that's volatility. Now that volatility is coming down, I mean, look at that chart, right? So when you look at that chart, those price moves, they go up, they come screaming down. They go up, they come screaming down. What do they bounce off of? A moving average trend line, almost like clockwork. They don't go below that trend line.
Right.
So when you now couple this with volatility, when the markets calm down and things just start going more normal, what does that tell us? It means there's a strong rational reason behind why investors globally, including central banks, hedge funds, individual investors like us, go into any asset because they view it as safe. Mm-hmm. Right. So volatility tells us this is a lot of trading mentality, right? People just locking in quick profits. It's a day trader mentality. The lack of volatility tells us markets are moving in a good direction and there's sound fundamental reasons behind it, right? So what Jesse's saying here is this lack of volatility means when historically that has happened, when volatility hits a low point, the markets go up and they go up robustly, right? So we've now gone through this phase of external forces causing volatility, whether it's the Iran conflict, whether it's some story about interest rates or who's going to be in the Fed or what's China doing. And when there's a lot of uncertainty, markets are going to go up and down and a lot in one day. And unless you have like intestines of steel, it's going to really bother you, right? But I'm telling you, don't let it bother you, right? Because this is telling us this upward moving trend that nothing has changed fundamentally. It's going to grow nicely, right? So use this I wouldn't call it a bottom point, right? But this correction off of its peak, bouncing off moving averages, already bouncing up nicely this week. Use that to your advantage and allocate into strength, and don't lose any sleep over it.
Yeah. Outstanding. You had a video that you wanted to show from Ray Dalio. Mm-hmm. You show that real quick.
Let's watch it and then we'll talk about it briefly.
Okay. Yep. Real quick here.
On August 15th, 1971, President Nixon, on a Sunday night, made the announcement that the United States was going to default on its obligation to pay gold, give gold for money. And so I thought it was going to be a big crisis. I went on the floor of the stock exchange, and I thought it would go down a lot, and I couldn't have been more wrong. It went up a lot, and that was because I didn't ever go through a devaluation before. So I studied history and found out that in March 1933, Roosevelt made the same exact announcement on the radio and did the exact same thing of severing gold and so on. And then I started to understand the mechanics of it. And as a result of that, I got in the habit, because I have to bet on these things, I got in the habit of studying important things that happened before my lifetime. And I found that the same pattern happened over and over again for the same reason. So what I'm watching now is like watching the movie that I've seen many times before.
How about that?
Yeah. So in layman's terms, what did he say? It's like, okay, whenever governments run into problems, they devalue the currency, which just means they're going to print it like it's going out of style. They print, because it's easier for governments to print money to come up with the money they need to pay obligations rather than raise taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Raising taxes is ugly. It hurts. People vote on that. It's like, I don't, read my lips. No new taxes, right? It's like people vote on that stuff.
Right.
So, but people don't vote on, are they going to print money or not? Nobody even really knows. Right. So what governments tend to do when they're running out of money is they print. Printing devalues the currency. It takes more of that junk currency, like basically monopoly money, to buy valuable goods and services. That's what inflation is. So Adalio is saying that after crisis, like in 1933, in 2008, even in 2000.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Folks can reach out to you, amweknow.com/gold in the description box below. And man, our lives changed when we brought our IRA over to you guys when it was around $20 an ounce for silver. And we, just watched our portfolio grow, and it's just been phenomenal to watch silver where it's at today is around $75. And I'm just so amazed at what you guys have done.
These people have gone crazy. I heard Hakeem Jeffries, a low IQ person. He's a very low IQ, screaming today that the Supreme Court is illegitimate. I mean, that's a dangerous statement. If we terminated the filibuster.
Not a day goes by where we are not hit with something new, something special or spectacular. Can you believe President Trump just admitted he served 3 terms as president? Do you realize how this statement was connected to comms on Obama and so much more? We have this and the continued meltdown from the Democrats as their world continues to crumble around them, and their God, Satan, is doing all he can to stop it all. We have to stay in prayer. 500,000 plus followers on Rumble. Thank you for that. And we love getting those likes. Again, our video the other day hit number 2 on their leaderboard right next to Dan Bongino. And that's because of you, the followers, hitting that like button and supporting this channel. Remember, we have our gear, 250 years, on amweknow.com, and our women's 3/4 sleeve V-necks. We're going to show you pictures of Patriots wearing our gear later on in this broadcast. First, I wanted to show you and head over to President Trump.
Is there talks about you potentially wearing a bulletproof vest moving forward, given you have now been shot at?
I don't know if I can handle looking 20 pounds heavier. These guys, they look so good. Some of these guys are physical specimens. Some of these guys.
I needed a joke. We all need it. He still keeps a sense of humor despite all that's going on and all the challenges that happen around this earth. Asking him if he wears a bulletproof vest with all the stuff going on, and he says, well, I don't know if I want to look 20 pounds heavier.
I don't want to be near him. If you want to gain 20 to 25 pounds, get a vest. And frankly, the vest did an amazing job because it took a bullet close up. And he didn't even want to go to the hospital. I mean, we sent him to the hospital just in case, but he didn't want, still a hit. But he didn't want to go to the hospital. The vest totally protected him.
How about that? Still has a sense of humor. Still talking about protection and all the folks that protected him through everything that's been going on. Now, President Trump put this truth out on Truth Social. For those that are not following him there, just want to make sure you know. He said this: anybody running for president or vice president should be forced to take a cognitive examination prior to entering the race. By doing so, we wouldn't be surprised at people like Barack Hussein Obama or Sleepy Joe Biden getting elected. Our country would be a much better place. I took the exam 3 times during my 3 terms as president. He put 3 and with the quotation marks around it, and he says this, and he aced it all 3 times. An achievement that, even on a single exam, according to the doctors, has rarely been done before President Donald J. Trump. He posts this at 1:50 p.m., April 30th, 2026, Eastern Standard Time. 1:50 p.m., 1:50 on the Intel board. The Q board, Ultramagadine, puts this out. Distress calls to others will do you and your family no good at this stage. We know where you and the family are at all times and can hear you breathing. Talking to the enemy of this country and other countries around the earth. Now, if you'll notice, on this Q drop, many folks caught this. It was the L in the target brackets, the D and the R. So it's a capital L, lower D, capital R, and believe that most folks believe that's Lindy Rothschild's. President Trump's message: Barack Hussein Obama and Joe Biden, you tried to throw a coup against me, but I never left. I have been commander-in-chief for 3 terms now. This is a translation of what he said. Distress calls to others will do you no good at this stage. We know where you are, and we're coming to get you. Another connection with this, SG Anon said President Trump's claiming on Truth Social that he's serving the 3rd term as president. He mentions former President of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama, in his post. See, he mentions him. Remember, we wouldn't be surprised at people like Barack Hussein Obama or Sleepy Joe Biden. He posts this, get this, 6 years to the day, the 6-year delta, that the Q drop 4027 was dropped April 30th, 2020, folks, on the exact same day, which contains a giant picture of Barack Hussein Obama in Kenyan ceremonial dress years before becoming president in 2008. We know, based on the Q drops, by the time they're done with him and they're revealing that he's not an American citizen and so much more, he's going to claim Kenyan citizenship. So this Kenyan named Barack Obama was not very happy with the Supreme Court and their ruling. You know, they hate the Constitution, these evil ones. This demonic possessed being, Barack Obama, if he's even alive anymore. Who knows if central casting already took over. Anyway, he puts this out. Today's Supreme Court decision effectively guts a key pillar of the Voting Rights Act, freeing state legislators to gerrymander legislative districts to systematically dilute and weaken the voting power of racial minorities. See, they always say that the minorities have no idea how to vote, so long as they do it under the guise of partisanship rather than explicit racial bias. See, they want everybody tied together in race. He wants it all the people to listen to him. Keep listening to me, folks, regardless of what's going on all around you. McKelvey put this out about this particular drop from President Trump. Don't forget the PEDS Act, State of Emergency Activating FEMA and DHS, the DOD Law of War Manual, Executive Order 13848, Directive 51, the Insurrection Act, the role of the military intelligence and Homeland Security. Guys, our military has been running this country ever since President Trump stepped in. Now, Kimberly Hour came in with this, saw that, 150 was the timestamp. Well, then go to 1350 military time. Now comes the pain. That's what it says on the Q drop. Hussein and Biden, remember, they were put in there elected. I have a feeling those two dudes will be getting erased from history as legitimate presidents, which frees up 2 more Supreme Court of the United States seats, in her opinion. Trump also says the word 3. 2 times he says 3. Okay? He spells out 3. He doesn't put the number 3. He spells it THREE for those that are listening and not watching. Well, interesting, because there's a drop on the Q board where you have the 3 THREE twice on the board. Okay? And it says this: we have 3 things issued at 129, also known as Q watch time. The IG report, the Inspector General report, the Durham rebuttal, the Barr rebuttal. We have confirmation that there are no coincidences. So that means one of 3 things. There's the THREE again. Horowitz, Durham, and Barr are all in communication with Q, or Horowitz, Durham, and Barr were specifically directed by Q Plus to issue these reports. Well, timing is important, says Q. How many coincidences, use of coincidences, essential not to violate national security before mathematically impossible. Remember, FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, equals the start. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let's continue.
And you know what else? We wouldn't lose for 50 years. You know, if we terminated the filibuster, we would have a 50-year run. You'd stop cheating. I mean, look, they're professional cheats, and they're great at it. That's what they're best at, because you can't get elected with their policy. You can't get elected with men and women sports, with transgender mutilization of our children, with open borders for jails to be dropped into our country, and mental institutions, and drug dealers and murderers. Think of it, 11,888 murders come into our country. Nobody even talks to them about it.
How about that? Oh, if we had that terminating the filibuster, folks, Republicans wouldn't lose for 50 years. Numbers don't lie. And we're going to show you some very, very good, promising numbers from CNN in a moment. Folks, many of us want our furry best friends to thrive. At LTPetClub247.com are all natural, USA-made supplements and treats packed with immune-boosting Coriolis versicolor mushrooms. Shed antler power, transform your pet's health. And guess what? They're so pure, they're great for humans too.
Have been suffering from ulcerative colitis my whole life. I started dosing it very, very hard, like 4 60-milligram tablets 4 times a day. To make a long story short, within about 3 weeks, I stopped bleeding.
From biscuits supporting bones, joints, and organs to mushroom blends for wellness, we've got pets and people covered. Plus, we donate profits to animal rescues like the Beagle Freedom Project. Shop affordable, natural solutions. Head to LTPetClub247.com now for vitality for you and your pet. LT Pet Club 247, health for all, 24/7. Get yours in the description box below today.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing right now in the numbers is President Trump and the Republican Party are chipping away at the long-term advantage that Democrats have had with black voters, with African Americans. You can see it right here. Look, Trump's approval among African Americans at this point in term 1, he was at 12%. You know, he's been losing ground with a lot of people. He's gaining ground with African Americans. He's up to 16% at this point. And you say, this isn't that big of a shift. But I will tell you, Republicans absolutely love this shift that's going on because Democrats have had such a long-term advantage. The fact that he's actually gaining ground versus where he was in term number 1, this has major implications for elections down the line because Democrats, especially in a lot of these tight races, you talk about places like Georgia, right down in the South, you see this type of movement for Trump actually gaining ground. This could have major ramifications and help put Republicans over the top in a number of southern places in the midterm elections.
But do you see this as part of a bigger trend?
I see this as absolutely part of a bigger trend. Donald Trump's Republican Party is absolutely gaining ground, not just him gaining in terms of his approval rating, but look at the party ID margin, Kate, because this to me was absolutely stunning. Look at this party ID margin among African Americans. At this point in Trump term number 1, Democrats had a 63-point advantage. That is absolutely fallen. Look at where it is now. A double-digit shift away. Democrats, of course, still have the advantage, but it's a 12-point shift to the Republican Party. And I look back through Gallup's records. They sent me their records. And this, in fact, lead that Democrats have is actually smaller than any lead from 2006 to 2021. So Democrats are leading. But again, we're talking about chipping away. Republicans are chipping away at this long-term advantage that Democrats have had among African Americans. We see it in terms of Trump's approval rating, and we even see it to a wider degree among the party ID margin, where all of a sudden there are a number of African Americans who are walking away from the Democratic Party and a number of them who are walking into the Republican tent.
That is very interesting looking at that past Gallup information.
Yeah.
What does this mean for the race for control control in Congress.
Okay, so you see this right here. You see this 51-point advantage that Democrats have, significantly less than you see that 63-point advantage. And what we will note was back in 2024, right, Donald Trump put in a historically strong performance among African Americans. Democrats performed the worst in a generation. Have they gained any of that coalition back from where they fell down to in 2024? But take a look here. Okay. Choice for election among African Americans. Kamala Harris was leading amongst that group in the pre-election polling by 63 points. Are Democrats gaining back any of that ground? It's a 62-point advantage now. Republicans are holding on to the gains that they made among African Americans in 2024. Republicans are gaining among African Americans. They are chipping away at that long-term advantage. The Donald Trump-led Republican Party is making gains among African Americans that we simply put have not seen the Republican Party make in a generation.
Pretty amazing, and big moves are being made when it comes to future elections. Alabama, they move fast. They're pushing the Supreme Court to end racial gerrymandering and redraw the maps following the landmark Supreme Court of the United States ruling against race-based districts. Alabama is asking the court to step in and allow a new lawful congressional map for 2026. The state argues current districts are clearly racially drawn and violate the Constitution. This could open the floodgates for other states. As a matter of fact, the DOJ is all over, and they're going to be watching all states to make sure that they comply to that order of the Supreme Court. Woo! President Trump put this out revolving around Tennessee. He said, I had a very good conversation with Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee this morning, wherein he stated that he would work hard to correct the unconstitutional flaw in the congressional maps of the great state of Tennessee. Likewise, all of the other political representatives of Tennessee have promised to do so. This should give us one extra seat and help save our country from the radical left Democrats and their country destroying policies of high tax, open borders, transgender mutilization, defunding the police, ICE and Border Patrol, no voter ID, soft on crime, and so much more. Thank you, Governor Lee. Also, C3 said going to, just by the numbers, the Democrats have around 40 to 50 fraudulent House seats due to illegals counted in the census, 15 to 20 invalid House seats due to race-based districting. The Dems' election scams are being removed one by one. The entire Democrat Party is based on fraud. Gerrymandering. Here, check this out. Massachusetts, 36% Republican. They have 0 seats representing them. Connecticut, 42% Republican, 0 seats representing them. Maine, 46% Republican, but 0 seats. Guys, what in the world's going on? They should at least have almost half the seats in Maine. New Mexico, 46% Republican, 0 seats representing them. New Hampshire, 48% Republican, 0 seats. Rhode Island, 42% Republican, 0 seats. Vermont, 32% Republican, 0 seats. Hawaii, 38% Republican, 0 seats. That might explain why their airports look so bad and so much more. Anyway, I actually love Hawaii, folks, and I wish that they would fix everything there and turn it into a beautiful place. Anyway, just want to make sure you saw that. Listen to this.
Liberals have no interest in a post-racial society.
This is Jason Riley.
They may claim that they long for one, but when you want racially gerrymandered voting districts, you don't want a post-racial society. When you want racial preferences in higher education, you don't want a post-racial society. When you name your group Black Lives Matter, you are not practicing post-racialism. The left has no interest in being post-racial, and even though they regularly claim that they do, and I think that's what a lot of people have missed here. If you're a progressive, if you're a liberal, you want to keep race front and center in our national debates. Whether it's relevant to the discussion or not, you want to keep it front and center because you think it works for you politically.
Yeah, good words there. You know, dear David Burke said, "Dear Democrats wanting about democracy, well, please explain to America how out of 21 congressional seats representing the 6 New England states, there are 0 Republican representatives, even though 40% of the electorate are registered Republicans, 48% in New Hampshire alone." Just making sure everybody knew about that. And of course, you guys saw Hakeem Jeffries in his little statement yesterday. Let's just, kind of have a reminder for those that might have missed it. Let me play this real quick. Somebody put this together.
And now we're at a point where affirmative action is gone, diversity is gone, equity gone, inclusion gone, racial tolerance gone, the Voting Rights Act largely gone.
Sean, WWE, and he's going crazy. President Trump put this out for the public to see. Hakeem Jeffries called the Supreme Court of the United States an illegitimate court. This is a low IQ individual who should not be allowed to talk that way about one of the greatest institutions anywhere in the world. He should withdraw the statement immediately. President Donald J. Trump, always making sure that we call these freaks out like him, Hakeem Jeffries. Let's listen to him.
These people have gone crazy. I heard Hakeem Jeffries, a low IQ person. He's a very low IQ, screaming today that the Supreme Court is illegitimate. I mean, that's a dangerous statement. Then if I say something modest, they say, oh, he's a king, he's a king. They're sick. But Hakeem Jeffries said the Supreme Court is illegitimate. That's a rough statement. If I made that statement, it would be the biggest story out there. Bad things would happen.
Yeah. Glad this is coming up. Mentioning it more and more.
We've never had to do that. So Secretary Hegseth, if the president, who regrets not signing that executive order to the then SecDef in 2020, asks you to seize ballots or voting machines in states during the 2026 election, will you stand up for the Constitution and say no, or will you salute and do his bidding?
See how they're falling apart? They're coming up with all types of things now. Oh, we're going to have to come up with all types of things to make sure that Democrats stay in line, that they listen to us, to make sure that anything that happens out there, President Trump, he's the one that's evil and his administration's evil. And they're going to do everything they can to steal the elections, even though they're the ones that are responsible for stealing and lying and cheating all the time. All right, let's let Pete answer this.
Senator, I didn't get a chance to answer the front part of your question, which, there was a lot of deferred maintenance under the Biden administration that needed to be addressed because the world was in chaos when President Trump was elected. Just address the election issue, please. Well, again, that's
the most important thing. It's what's happening.
It's yet another gotcha hypothetical,
that's right,
which is your specialty.
It's not. We had an executive order
under the Biden administration in 2024.
It's not a hypothetical. I refuse to accept. You give that answer all the time. You and I have done this dance before. Get over it, okay? In 2020.
She's trying to tell Pete, I said, get over it, okay? Like she's like a little cat.
He's the president, your boss, the guy you're performing for right now, told the journalists this year that he wished he signed that executive order to your predecessor. And your predecessor said publicly, thank God, we didn't actually go forward with it. What are you going to do? You're the guy here in the seat. It's not hypothetical. Tell the American people, will you deploy the uniformed military to our polls to collect voter rolls or machines?
I wish they would.
Are you accusing me of performing? Because you're performing for cable news right now.
Oh, what are they so scared of? Do they realize that maybe the military is taking over this country and they're just in shock?
But Mr. Secretary, we have
it's a hypothetical. By the way, in 2024, under the Biden administration, 15 states did deploy.
Under their governor's authority, when their governors asked for it.
What did Joe Biden say about that?
That's fundamentally, I don't think anything, because he needed them for cybersecurity and for COVID. Trump did it too, under Trump. But it was not the federal decision. It was those governors of the states under their authorities, okay? It's never been done in our history. Please stand up for the Constitution. Do not send uniformed military to our polls.
Do what I say. Don't do what the President of the United States says. By goodness, I'm Senator Slotkin, and you're going to listen to me. Not the President Trump. Don't do this. Don't prove that we're lying to the public. Don't disclose how evil we really are. You're going to do what you're told. You understand. Oh, Joe Lang says there are people still worried about the midterms. Panicking. Stop listening to the media. Trump isn't worried at all. The SAVE Act will happen when Trump wants it to happen. He said he would sign an executive order that will require citizenship and voter ID. It's coming. Trump doesn't need the Senate to pass the SAVE Act. Read that again. Thune knows this, and so does Trump. What is Trump waiting for? He's going to expose the stolen election in 2020. We have the evidence. The DOJ investigation will prove the treason domestically. Tulsi's intelligence community investigation into the 2020 election will prove foreign interference coordinated with the Democrats. Do you realize what that means? Do you understand the authority under the Constitution that Trump will have when the evidence proves the election was stolen? It's now a national security threat. Trump will have the constitutional authority to completely transform our entire election system in every state. Democrats will file a lawsuit against the executive order, and Trump will win at the Supreme Court, setting legal precedent for the future. Checkmate. The coming new supermajority MAGA in Congress will be the ones expected to codify into law everything Trump is doing by executive order, not this current Congress. The current Congress is playing their role, especially key individuals. 1, investigations and getting evidence on the record for future prosecutions. And 2, a bullhorn on all the corruption being exposed for the American people. Trump is playing a different game. He's securing our future hundreds of years from now. The midterms are already secured. Enjoy the show. And for those with us, we just want to remind you that we have our women's 3/4 sleeve V-necks. They're finally here. Also, our colors, new colors are in our classic hoodies, many available up to size 3XL and more. Go to amweknow.com or shop.amweknow.com and get your gear. Here's more great pictures of patriots.
We haven't talked about it as much in these hearings because this is a budget hearing about $1.5 trillion that's historic and significant. But underwriting the change that we've seen at our department was a laser focus on getting back to basics. And the key word to that is merit. We had a department that was obsessed with gender, ideology, and race, diversity, equity, and inclusion. In fact, the mantra you would hear dripping from the lips of generals and with a serious look on their face was, "Our diversity is our strength," which is the single dumbest phrase in military history. Of course, our diversity is not our strength. Our unity is our strength, our shared purpose, the flag we wear and the Constitution we serve to defend. And when you clear that debris away, whether it's Marxist ideologies or social engineering or political correctness or quotas based on gender and diversity, you get the best of the best rising up, regardless of gender, regardless of race, motivated by that environment where merit reigns. It's accountability, standards, lethality, readiness, training, all the debris wiped away. That is the secret sauce of the revival of the War Department and why Americans are attracted to serving in it and why those inside it, why morale is sky high. And any insinuation that it is not are coming from folks who haven't been in our units recently. Go visit the troops at every level, and their morale is at record levels.
And I want to talk Pete Hegseth. What a great selection by President Trump, taking care of our, the Secretary of War. Is just amazing. And I'm going to show you something in a moment where they're actually asking, and they're putting out on the Communist News Network. They're putting out their minions to make it look like Pete Hegseth, again, to the Democrats. All they think about all the time is not toleration, not being tolerant, not being nice or kind or having nice conversations. All they talk about all the time is what? Death. And that's what they're calling for Pete Hegseth. I'm going to show you that in a moment. Let's continue to see why they want him gone.
Months into a historic military success in Iran, and you want to call it a defeat. And it's defeatist Democrats like you that cloud the mind of the American people and would otherwise fully support preventing Iran from having a nuclear weapon.
Yep, as he talks over him. 2 months into historic military success in Iran. What does old Blumenthal want to do? The guy who faked that he went to Vietnam, Mr. Vietnam liar. He wants to make it look like it's a defeat. Secretary Hegseth's not letting them get by with it. Let's have another guy who gets put on his face.
Do you know how much it will cost Americans in terms of their increased cost in gas and food over the next year because of the Iran war?
Up here we go. From Bo himself.
I would simply ask you what the cost is of an Iranian nuclear bomb. I'm going to give you that.
What's the cost of an Iran nuclear bomb, buddy?
Simply ask you what the. You're playing gotcha questions about domestic things. I'm not. You're asking. You're saying it's a gotcha question to ask what it's.
So I don't want to listen to this guy more than I have to. Let's go to 112 on this clip when Pete Hegseth continues.
We have an incredible economic team that's managing this better than. But what the previous administration did to our economy, what the previous administration did with inflation, you know what's upsetting? I reclaim my time. With COVID, and you're going to lecture this administration about the economy? You know what is upsetting? Incredible. You didn't even do the.
You want to lecture about the economy? She never once talked to about Biden, nothing that they were up to, nobody else. But you want to tell us about money? Another idiot that's called out in front of everyone. Let's see. Another person that had a great takedown was Pocahontas.
Financial Times reported that your broker tried to buy hundreds of shares in a BlackRock fund invested in defense companies just before the war began. The law clearly prohibits the Secretary.
That entire story is false, has been from the beginning, and was made up out of whole cloth. And anybody that looks at it sees how it was worded from the beginning to make it look like I was involved in something I had nothing to do and never have. So any insinuation that I've ever profited other than serving this nation, what I give, what you give, what others give, I'm not looking for money. I don't do it for money. I don't do it for profit. I don't do it for stocks. And that's part of the reason why I'm able to be effective in this job, because no one owns me. No one owns this department. No one owns this president, and we can execute for the American people, and we do.
The law clearly prohibits the Secretary of Defense from owning stock in the 10 biggest defense contractors. Other senators and I sent you a letter with detailed questions about this, and you have not given us a response. So I'd like to hear you say, did you, through your broker at Morgan Stanley or otherwise, seek to invest in any defense-related funds right before Trump started the Iran war?
I'll give it to you as a big, fat negative.
Then let me ask you a second question. Is your broker getting your personal sign-off on any investment in individual stocks?
Bigger, fatter, negative.
He's not getting your sign-off before he makes investments in defense stocks? Can I refer you to your
I'm not making investments,
agreement?
Senator.
I am asking, does he know?
So all they're doing is attacking the messengers, going after them, doing all they can. Try to stop Secretary Hegseth from moving forward. Yeah.
I haven't talked about it as much in these hearings because this is a budget hearing about $1.5 trillion that's historic and significant. But underwriting the change that we've seen in our department was a laser focus on getting back to basics. And the key word to that is merit. We had a department that was obsessed with gender, ideology, and race, diversity, equity, and inclusion. In fact, the mantra you would hear dripping from the lips of generals and with a serious look on their face was, our diversity is our strength, which is the single dumbest phrase in military history.
That's right.
Of course, our diversity is not our strength. Our unity is our strength, our shared purpose, the flag we wear and the Constitution we serve to defend. And when you clear that debris away, whether it's Marxist ideologies or social engineering or political correctness or quotas based on gender and diversity, you get the best of the best rising up, regardless of gender, regardless of race, motivated by that environment where merit reigns. It's accountability, standards, lethality, readiness, training, all the debris wiped away. That is the secret sauce of the revival of the War Department, and why Americans are attracted to serving in it, and why those inside it, why morale is sky high. And any insinuation that it is not are coming from folks who haven't been in our units recently. Go visit the troops at every level, and their morale is at record level.
And I want to talk. And it is. It's very high. It's great to hear him continue to school these Democrats, these evil ones, and they just can't handle it. So I'm going to show you a clip, and you guys, hopefully you're in prayer because you're about to watch a demon in action. If you're looking at your screen, you'll see a demon-possessed man and how he operates when he realizes he's being exposed and the devil just can't handle it. Look what he asked for.
Do you believe that the Secretary of Defense is guilty of war crimes?
So let's set up the question from the Communist News Network. So you're already putting in the minds of all the people, war crimes. Who thought of that one? Who came up with that idea? Who put that on the teleprompter for this strange CIA agent called a news anchor to ask that question so they could pop it up so he can actually give this information to the public? Because, of course, he has to know that he's going to get that question, number one. And number two, he was probably already provided with the answer. Listen what they're asking for.
Absolutely. I mean, he's clearly behind the operation to shoot all these boats in the Caribbean.
This is Representative Seth Moulton. He's with the Armed Services Committee, Democrat. He is supposedly a U.S. Marine veteran.
When it's very unclear that we actually have any confirmation that these so-called narco-terrorists, a term the administration invented to justify this action, are even on the boats. I mean, in fact, there's a lot of evidence that these are just fishermen, getting jobs, piloting these boats, trying to feed their families. There's been press reporting on some of these individuals who've been killed, who are clearly not war criminals. And on top of that, we then have the strike where they came back and hit it again, a double tap, just purely to kill these survivors who were clinging to wreckage. It's interesting, Aaron, another historical analogy. Back in World War II, the Allies tried Nazi submarine captains for doing this exact same thing. And guess what the conclusion was? They got executed. Listen to that, Mr. Secretary.
So he's calling for what? He's calling for the execution of Secretary Hegseth because he doesn't like how he's being exposed. The liar, the one who belongs to Satan himself. He's actually calling for his own demise, in my opinion, because he'll be heading over to Gitmo before too long. Better watch out. This guy is calling him a Nazi, and he's also calling for him to be taken out. How about that for your CNN? Wanting to end a man who's taking care of business around the world and taking care of our military. I need a cup of coffee.
Well, can God walk and chew gum at the same time? Well, asking the question like that might offend some of you, but do we really think that the unlimited, all-powerful creator of the universe can only do one thing at a time? There's some real significant events in history marking deliverance from death, slavery, bondage into freedom, independence that have happened on the same calendar day. Noah's Ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat on the Hebrew month of Nisan on the 17th day. The Israelites crossed the Red Sea on Nisan 17. Freedom, deliverance from bondage, slavery, death into their inheritance, their Independence Day. In the book of Esther, Haman had a plot to kill all the Israelite people. But on Nisan 17, he was executed, marking their deliverance from his evil plan and their release into independence. They had to fight for a couple of days for that independence, but that was the day that marked it. Most people agree that the greatest Independence Day of all time, the resurrection of Jesus from the dead, happened on Nisan 17. Deliverance from death, bondage, slavery, into new life, into freedom in Jesus. Now, people have calculated the odds of this happening on accident are 1 in 784 quadrillion. That's 784 followed by 15 zeros. Now, there's a verse in Proverbs 25:2, that said, it's the glory of God to conceal a matter, but it's the glory of kings to search them out. Why did God do all of these things on the Nisan 17? I don't know. But it's not on accident. So if it's not on accident, maybe he wants us to do a little digging. At a bare minimum, we know that all these events, not only are they significant on their own, but God chose to do them on the same calendar day. He's always up to something. Welcome to the Great Awakening.
Outstanding, Mike. Once again, Hunter's Blend Coffee. You guys can go to the description box below and learn more about this amazing product. They buy the top 6% of specialty coffee beans, roast with precision in small batches. They ship it out to locally roasted coffee fresh to your door. They support organizations and causes that are near and dear to the hearts of many freedom-loving Americans, such as pro-life, youth shooting sports, veterans, hunting and conservation, patriot, and anti-sex trafficking. You guys, head on below this video and get your coffee today.
But we're going to cover one thing we broke overnight. A lot of you probably heard about it over the course of the day. The United States government, the National Security Agency, intercepted conversations of President Zelensky's government in Ukraine in 2022, late 2022, conspiring with federal workers at the USAID to come up with a plan to take $200 million of USAID money. That is your money, folks, taxpayer money, route it through a series of transactions, move it into the United States, and launder it into Joe Biden's 2024 campaign and the Democratic National Committee. We have the intercepts for the first time. Tulsi Gabbard's team was willing to declassify them. There is now an investigation underway, beginning with USAID, to look at who was involved, whether any crimes were committed, and if that is the case, to refer that to the FBI in the next few days. Those declassified documents up at justthenews.com. You can go check about it today. Members of Congress have been clamoring all day to get their hands on the documents. I expect Tulsi Gabbard to make a statement later tonight on where things are evolving in her investigation. But we've gone from the era of weaponization, where the primary tool was using prosecutors and FBI agents to disable Donald Trump and his followers and all the good people around him, to now potentially conspiring with foreign powers to have an impact on our elections. We have the Ukraine stuff this morning, and remember what we told you 3 weeks ago. Proof from the FBI that China sent tens of thousands of driver's licenses to the United States with fake names to get fake ballots to vote for Joe Biden in the 2020 election. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of the FBI informant in the FBI documents that we made public a few months ago. So China possibly conspiring with Joe Biden and the Democrats, and now possibly Ukraine. 2 investigations underway. We're going to keep you apprised of that right now.
Keep them going. All along, intercepting Ukraine government messages. Makes you wonder what Ukraine's all about, huh? Remember, we had Pelosi with her connections to Ukraine, John Kerry with his son, Biden with his son. I mean, everybody had relatives over there just making all kinds of money, and they had 46, 47 of the biolabs that were taken out immediately when they started the precise special operation by Russia into Ukraine. It makes you wonder if they took out those biolabs and how that all played out while President Trump supposedly was not in office. You guys starting to understand? Now listen to Assistant Attorney General Colin McDonald putting all the fraudsters on notice.
Our message today and every day is simple. If you steal from the American taxpayer, the Department of Justice and our law enforcement partners will do everything possible to award you free housing in a federal prison. And we will not stop there. We will find the spoils of your fraud, take it from you, and give it back where it belongs, with the American people. No one should be allowed to rip off the United States of America. And we will not be shrugging our shoulders at those who do. Already this week, alongside our law enforcement partners, we executed over 20 search warrants in fraud investigations in Minnesota. We indicted a bookkeeper in Florida for siphoning $3.9 million from her employer. We secured a guilty plea from a former Iowa nonprofit director who stole money meant to help Americans find work. And we obtained a prison sentence for a tax cheat in Texas who withheld but did not pay his employees' taxes. And last week, among many other fraud enforcement actions, a judge sent a sex offender to prison for lying to receive SNAP benefits. We will continue to work around the clock to prosecute fraud. We are not doing this work alone. Under the leadership of President Trump, the entire apparatus of the federal government is laser focused on fraud as part of the president's task force to eliminate fraud, a whole of government effort chaired by Vice President Vance to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse within the federal benefit programs.
Good stuff. They're coming after him. Saying you want something for free, we're going to put you in a holding cell for free. All right, let's get into gasoline.
The average price of a gallon of gas is now $4.30 in this country.
And you know what? And we're not going to have a nuclear weapon in the hands of Iran. The gas will go down. As soon as the war's over, it'll drop like a rock. There's so much of it. It's all over the place, sitting all over the oceans of the world. And it'll go down. But what won't happen is if Iran had a nuclear weapon and used it, then the whole world is a different place. You're not going to have to pay a little bit.
Do you think that the gas prices are bad? Well, what if we had to deal with a nuclear weapon that was fired off into our country and other countries? What do you think would have happened then? Don't worry, when this is over, he says, the prices are going to drop like a rock. Good reminder.
Presidential permit authorizing the Bridger pipeline, sir. This is a transborder pipeline similar to the old Keystone XL pipeline. It'll significantly expand our ability to move oil around North America, oil and gas around North America. It's a huge deal in terms of long-term energy dominance and
pipeline.
Energy security.
Slightly different than the last administration. Very different.
Another pipeline. Underground.
We wouldn't sign a pipeline deal, and we have pipelines going up. And by the way, they're way underground. They're not a problem. Nobody even knows they're there. It's so crazy, but they wouldn't approve anything having to do with the pipeline, and they're great. As opposed to trucking it or training it, it was...
Pipelines way underground? I wonder how deep underground they are. Wonder how many highways and they have byways throughout the United States of America. They transport all types of things, including oil. Wouldn't it be nice to know? Speaking of money, look at this.
Get into the personal income and spending numbers. Income up 0.6, double expectations, and that would be the best level since the summer of 25, July to be specific. If we look at the spending side, equal to expectations, up 0.9. Pretty robust. Last month, a little bit more robust, from up 0.5% to up 0.6. How does up 0.9 compare? Well, you'd have to go to the last quarter of 24 when it was up 1%. And we are a consumption economy. That is pretty good news.
Good news. All the way around. Also, you know, silver continues to go up. It went up again. Gold reclaims reserve status. The central banks reverse their 1900s dollar shift. We get into all of this tomorrow. We're going to put this out to the public from Dr. Kirk Elliott. He always seems to know. Here's a clip from what you're going to see tomorrow.
Free. and I think that beekeeper type analogy, I mean, I watched the movie.
Yeah.
It's so violent, but it was actually a good movie. I mean, it's just violent. Yeah. But yeah, it's a good guy taking out the people that are stealing from people, right? I mean, that was the gist of the movie. Yep. This is what Trump allegorically, or actually not even an allegory, it's like for real. He's taking out the banks systematically, changing the US dollar, changing the currency, bringing more demand to it, because the system as we've known it since the Federal Reserve started has been doing what? Stealing from people.
That's right. That's right. Good stuff. And we know.com/gold. You can reach out to Dr. Kirk Elliott or somebody on his team. They'll pray with you. They'll direct you on how to bring your IRAs away from the fiat dollar into gold and silver. It is absolutely amazing. It's changed our lives. Hope you check them out. Look at this. We had a lot of talk on abortion this week. I saw this from a prestigious doctor leaving a crowded room stunned.
My name is Dr. Monique Wilbenhorst. I am a practicing board-certified OBGYN with more than 30 years' experience in patient care, teaching, research, health policy, and global health. I'd like to begin by noting that the Dobbs decision presents an opportunity to mitigate abortion's many harms to women, unborn children, families, and community. Abortion not only poses risks to the mother, it is also, by definition, always lethal to an embryo or fetus, an unborn child who is a human being, a member of the human family. Not a clump of cells or a potential child, but a child assuming the human form. Abortion's goal is to kill that human being. It neither treats, palliates, or prevents any disease and is therefore not health care. This is reinforced by the fact that the majority of OBGYNs do not perform abortions. Studies show that the percentage that do is declining and has been for decades, from a high of 40% in 1985 to between 7 and 24% at present. Given this, abortion cannot be considered essential health care for women, and if abortion is health care, my question is, what disease are you treating?
What disease are you treating if abortion is health care? And that's been a big message that's gone out this week. A lot of folks have been tuning into that. Another big one was the President Trump's announcement. Check this out. Of Dr. Nicole B. Safarian to be the next Surgeon General of the United States of America. Nicole is a star physician, President Trump said, who has spent her career guiding women facing breast cancer through their diagnosis and treatment, while tirelessly advocating to increase early cancer detection and prevention, while at the same time working with men and women on all other forms of cancer diagnosis and treatments. She's also an incredible communicator who makes complicated health issues more easily understood by all Americans. And she'll do great things for our country and help make America healthy again. Now, she happens to, here's a clip from her where she is talking about why in the world people would recommend the COVID shot to all the kids. She was upset about it.
Okay, I'm at a very crucial point in cooking dinner right now, but I feel like I needed to just comment quickly on the fact that the American Academy of Pediatrics just came out and said, we recommend the COVID shot in all kids, healthy, unhealthy, despite the CDC no longer recommending it. I'm not really surprised. Are you surprised? I'm not surprised. I mean, think back, the AAP throughout COVID, they scrubbed their website of everything that said facial recognition is good for infants and toddlers, just to continue to support their push for masking universally, I don't know, into perpetuity. No, I'm not surprised. The fact that healthy child, the risk of dying from COVID is like less than 0.002%. That's less than dying in a car accident. So, okay, so maybe kids shouldn't get in cars. I mean, I don't know what to say here. It's really upsetting, especially because the data has shown over and over again, kids are the lowest risk population, especially healthy kids, and the fact that risk of side effects is not negligible, especially if we're talking about adolescent boys and young adult boys. I'm a mom of 3 boys. This greatly concerns me. These vaccines cause a lot of inflammation. They certainly don't prevent transmission. And I haven't really seen data that shows me that these shots are beneficial to my healthy 3 boys. So how could I recommend that they get them? I'd love for a pediatrician to try and tell me that they need a COVID vaccine. It is going to be cold, flu, and COVID season. We're starting.
So I wanted to show you something because we talked about this a little bit yesterday. I'm not gonna go over this too long, folks. Just give me a minute. Bridget put this out, Light on Liberty. There's a video that was put out from a young lady. She said it brought her to tears. Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates are guilty of crimes against humanity. This precious soul is a vaccine injury victim in her own home, silenced. She's crying to all of us. Quote, I cannot tell you what started my seizures, neurological symptoms, or blood clots because my video will violate community guidelines. But I'm not being silenced. We know what did this, and we're so sorry. We screamed as loud as we could. Those of us that didn't take it still love those who did, and will continue to fight for you all. You're all fighting for people's God-given right to live life happy and carefree. Our leaders have failed them. Scientists have failed them. Academia has failed them. The media has failed them. You cannot. Breaks your heart. And I've met several people, folks, that I'm tied to, friends and more, that said they had to get the shot for whatever reason, job related or whatever. And I understand that. And we just say, hey, we'll pray for you. Hope that you got the saline shots and hope that our Heavenly Father has covered you with protection. And it just breaks our hearts, right? What we've been through. We don't want to forget. Well, all this is playing out. I wanted to end this video with a couple of things. One would be the comms from Ripcord showing us this Kirill Dmitriev. Remember, he always posting stuff about Q. The guy out of Russia. Under Putin. He put this out. The sequence of the 7 waves of the EU and the UK crisis tsunami. In May, they're going to have jet fuel problems. Oil, gas, and fuel, and fertilizer. In June to August, they're going to have food and industry crisis. From September to December, they're going to have an economy and social and political crisis. There's going to be an awakening and a reset in 2027. He's got a picture of that tsunami going into the city. Interesting, because we're told, watch the water. Think waves, says Q. Worldwide, define unified, 17 in the target brackets. We're unified under understanding and more watching the Q board. The SAT knockout forced the new classified tech online by who? Controlled moment activated, 17. There's a place for everyone. Now, while this has been playing out, we started around, some of the talks about what's been going on throughout our nation. One of those has been the attacks against Secretary Hegseth. But I want to show you just how these liberal Democrats and many rhinos and some of the politically correct Republicans behave. But this happens to be a Democrat, Mr. Reed, on the attack mode against Christianity.
Intense interest in Christianity, in nationalism, and in not recognizing the talents of women and non-white gentlemen, and that's the wrong direction.
I don't know what you're insinuating, Senator, but I am not ashamed of my faith in Jesus Christ.
Well, you shouldn't be ashamed.
And if you want to shame me for it, go ahead.
He's shaming him. And that's not a message just for Secretary Hegseth, that's for all of us. And I was in the military with many chaplains. And I would ask them, how come when you pray, because they would do lead us in prayer for whatever event we were a part of or whatever. And they'd ask the chaplains to pray. Why don't you pray in the name of Jesus Christ? You just say amen. Nobody knows who you're praying to. I had one chaplain, his name was Chaplain Beadog, who didn't care. He prayed in the name of Jesus Christ, and he allowed me to preach for him several times on Okinawa, Japan, when I was active duty Marine there, because you're allowed to, as a layman, to pray to preach when you're overseas if the chaplain asks you to. He wasn't ashamed of the gospel. He would have us, our worship team from the local church there. He would actually have us play worship while he invited and paid for the cheerleaders from a football team to come over. And all the Marines and sailors and others would come to see the cheerleaders, right? Because they're famous. And while they're talking to the cheerleaders and getting pictures done, they're hearing us singing praise and worship. And he says, how else am I going to get these Marines to show up and hear the gospel or hear music, worship music? The other thing that he reminded me of is, do you realize that one of the cheerleaders gave her life to Christ the next morning when she came to the chapel and he preached the message? It's amazing what I've seen chaplains do when they stand up for Christ and they're not ashamed of the gospel. It's amazing what Secretary Hegseth has done when he stands up for the truth. In our country, many of the systems that have been set up, whether you believe them or not, have the ability to show us more and more the foundations of our Constitution and our freedoms and liberty and more are God-given, coming from Scripture. And we hope and pray every day that our nation will come back and that someday we'll be sending missionaries around the world again, and we'll watch the books be written on the many lives that have been affected through a true Great Awakening.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you again, thanking you for how you have set up a great foundation for this nation, for others that are crying out, hoping that they would have leadership such as this to destroy this evil that has overtaken our country, overtaken our Hollywood side, our music, our schools, public office, and so much more. We've learned that many politicians worship Satan. You know this. Many of them are tied to trafficking of children. The evils run rampant like a disease running through and coursing through our byways, our homes, and so much more. And we certainly need your help. And we ask that you continue to provide protection over those that are on the front lines, those that are standing for you and for truth. We also ask for support and help in the way that we deal with others and our own family, our own friends. We certainly need your guidance and direction each and every day as we struggle many times to share the truth, struggle as the enemy comes against us and trying to attack us in all different directions. We certainly need your protection. We bring this all before you in the name of Jesus Christ, your Son. Amen. Thank you so much, folks, for your support, for your prayers, and so much more. It means so much to us. We're so excited as we continue to move forward and we get this news out to you and provide guidance for all of you. So we covet your prayers. For now, this is LT Semper Fi. With them we know. Signing out.
I heard Hakeem Jeffries, a low IQ person. He's a very low IQ. Screaming today that the Supreme Court is illegitimate. I mean, that's a dangerous statement. You know, if